Hello everyone, I'm your host Mariana and you're listening to A Degree Farther, the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College, where we feature current students, alumni and faculty who are innovators on our campus and in our community. Welcome back to A Degree Farther. In today's episode, we are thrilled to have Dr. Dimitoglou, a long-time educator and leader in cybersecurity here at Hood College. Since joining Hood in 2004, Dr. Dimitoglou has shared his expertise in information security and cryptography, applying his extensive background from government and industry. As the founding faculty director of Hood's graduate cybersecurity program, he brings a passion for emerging technologies and a keen focus on evaluating their security, ethical, and societal implications. Dr. Dimitoglou's work includes a unique academic perspective on election methods and technologies, viewing them strictly as systems to be secure without political leanings. His approach is grounded in historical and clinical analysis, always advocating for the responsible use and innovation of these critical systems. Join us today as we dive into Dr. Dimitoglou's insights on the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, the future of secure technology, and its importance in the election system. Elections are coming next week, and that's why we all need to be prepared for this. I hope you learn a lot from this episode. Enjoy it! Hi, Dr. Dimitoglou. Welcome to A Degree Farther. This is an amazing moment that you're here. We are so excited to have you, especially today, like some weeks before, 1 week before elections, actually, right? Um,
Correct.
Today we're gonna talk about cybersecurity and elections, but we can start by talking about your background and your relationship with Hood College.
Thank you. Great to be here. I am a professor of computer science. I'm a trained computer scientist, and my interest in cybersecurity had started some time ago from the systems perspectives. I was interested in securing systems, and as you probably have heard about, and everybody has heard about all the issues that have been going on with elections. Election is pretty much a system. In my eyes, it resembles a system that needs to be protected, and this idea of how to protect elections, their integrity, and how their efficiency, and of course the security, of course, and making sure that whatever we have out of an election is based on accuracy and fairness, is a big concern in cybersecurity. So this is one of the reasons why I have become very interested in election security.
All right, yeah, and can you talk a little bit more about that connection between the elections and cybersecurity and why it's so important to talk about it?
Sure. One of the interesting parts about elections is that elections have been around for many hundreds, perhaps even a thousand or so years. And we never had an issue of the electronics part to be part of it, because we did not have computers. We were not engaging in this kind of elections that they would require us having to deal with computers. The moment that computing got involved in cybersecurity, that's in elections. That's when cybersecurity became an issue. Um, and one of the reasons why we're interested in bringing computing into elections is because we are interested in efficient elections. We want to vote and have the outcomes of the election found out very quickly. Well, computers can do that very easily. Uh, so in terms of the idea behind it, the reason why cybersecurity became of interest is because computing got involved into elections, or elections started basing a lot of how they're carried out on computing. And the moment that you have any kind of a computer, then you automatically have security issues that you need to worry and address.
Yeah, right. What are the most common cybersecurity threats faced by elections systems today?
So one of the biggest concerns, well, there are a number of parts that there, a number of issues that there are going on in elections, and it depends on how computing is being involved in elections. So if we backtrack for just a minute before we go into the actual elections, which is how you take a ballot and you put it into your system, meaning how do you actually vote as a citizen? There are a lot of systems that they're being involved with registering voters, or all of the systems that they're not about dropping the ballot, but the preparation of going to into elections. And many of the attacks and threats, and many of the attacks that we have seen have been to those systems. It has not been actually in the voting ballot type of a threat. So the threats that we see is that a voter registration system is compromised, and if it's compromised, then the private information of citizens who have registered to vote, it becomes public, or it becomes it's what is called, it's hacked. This is made available by to others that they shouldn't be. And that is not a direct issue with the outcome of the elections. It's not a direct issue because we can always find when you show up at the vote booth and say, okay, who are you? We can verify. We have ways to do this. But what these kinds of compromises and threats, what they do is they undermine the um, uh, uh, the integrity of the elections in the minds of people. If somebody can break into these registration systems, in this voting registration system, then this means that automatically that the whole election could be compromised, and that is a big difference in the kind of threats. Now, when we move to the threats that they're related to the actual elections, it's very rare and it's very hard, and has been almost proven that it's very hard that someone can affect the voting machines that we are using during the elections, meaning that they would be able to remotely access those and alter votes or destroy them, or and so on and so forth. This is not something that is a big threat, because most of these machines, they're not network accessible, meaning that nobody can try to access them, or in order to be able to compromise them, they will have to physically be by the machine and sort of think about it like open it like a car. You open the hood and then you start digging into the machine in order to be able to fix it. So it's not, the threats are not that big in that area.
Okay. Wow. That sounds scary, but interesting. Um, how does the USA election system approach to cybersecurity compared to other countries? How it works here differently from other
Mhm.
countries?
Well, the U.S. Has been in a lot of cases a pioneer when it comes to introducing computing into the election systems. And whether it was about introducing optical character recognition machines, where very similar to when we were taking an electronic test, we create the ballot and then we put it through a machine and scans it and uses it, or the attempts that happened about in the last 20 years in order to have electronic voting. So in the United States, we are very, very interested in speed and accuracy, and of course fairness in the elections. But we really care to know who won as quickly as possible. And when you have 150 or so million people voting across the country, this is not something that you can do easily unless you deploy computers. The problem is that because we have had a lot of issues, and you probably remember that there have been cases, the very well-known cases, for example, at some point in the beginning of the century, when the elections had to be decided by the Supreme Court, either because there were the Chad's issues or because there were machines that they were people were not trusting them. So the United States is taking a little bit more of a conservative approach, and the conservative approach is that we're not going to be doing electronic elections in the pure sense, meaning that you show up and you put in a computer what your vote is, and that is counted. Paper will always be involved. So whether it is that you generate the ballot and then you scan it in, or some other way, so it's not going to be just electrons. And that is because of the general kind of confidence that you want to distill into elections. There are, so in terms of, just to frame it in terms of what your question was, in general, the US is forward thinking about elections, but at the same time wants to be confident that what we're doing, that how the elections are run, they are not, the compromise or the confidence of the people, it's not is there. There are other countries that they have gone to fully electronic elections. Estonia, for example, is one. But others are somewhere in between. If you think about it as a spectrum, for paper ballots to all the way electronics, the US is somewhere in 2/3 of the way towards the electronic.
Okay, so United States is using the technology as a tool, but not specifically as like the main aspect for elections.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So thinking about the future, and the future election cycles, what are the critical cybersecurity challenges you anticipate, and how you think they can be addressed?
I think the challenges are not necessarily about in elections and as we're going forward, they're not about the actual process of voting, and meaning that putting in your choice in your ballot. Um, I think it's everything around the elections that is a problem with computing and cybersecurity. So the idea of distilling confidence is and making sure that we're confident about how we're voting, how we're electing our who we're going to vote for, etc., seems to become a bigger challenge. There are a lot of, particularly with artificial intelligence, now you can have deep fakes, meaning that you can have candidates, you can be really you can literally putting words in the mouths of the candidate and showing as if they said those things. So I think the biggest issue is confidence into not to the election process per se, but everything around it, whether it is propaganda, whether it is misinformation, deep fakes, or how we can affect people and what they think about what's going on, and of course, challenging the confidence of the elections. You can convince people that no matter what happens, it's not going to be the election is not going to work. That would be bad for elections. So it's not a direct kind of threat or a challenge, but it's all around it.
Yeah, but that's very scary. The IA, um,
Mhm.
like you don't know how to know what is real and what is not. That is, yeah. And talking about that, are there any emerging technologies you see that are playing a significant role in this future election security? Like any ways, for example, in this case, to know when a video is IA and when it's not, or how to, yeah, to know this, especially for the citizens.
Right. There's a lot of work being done in computing, trying to find out and detect this type of misinformation, whether it is video, audio, or whatever it would be. So work is being done. Of course, it's very hard. It's very hard to confirm, and it's very hard to figure out what's going on because they're getting better. The technology is getting better into doing these things. Um, in terms of the future, when it comes to technologies for the election systems, um, I think we're going to stay with a little bit more traditional, this idea that there is a paper involved for some time. And that is until we have all the confidence that we can go to an electronic system that would definitely work. Um, one of the real interesting issues about election security and the technology that we want to involve is something very, very fundamental. And the fundamental issue is not that is the notion that we need anonymity. So anonymity about whom we vote for, because I can show up and you can show up in an election and you can vote and you can get a receipt that says, oh, you have voted on that day at that time, and that is your receipt. But that is only half of the issue, because if we assume that there is ever a threat or a compromise later on the results, it's very hard to check whom you voted for because it's anonymous. So it's a very, very basic kind of an issue that we have to deal with, and it's very hard for technology to do anything about it. Um, there are some thoughts about using a new technology that everybody has been talking about, but in a different context, this idea of blockchain. And I think it was mentioned the last time that I gave a presentation on the topic. But I think right now, both the technology and the confidence to fully 100% electronic voting and emergent technologies is just not there yet.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of work to get done and a lot to research also, and as like the voters also to yeah, research and know more about what is going on. So that's why it's so important that you're here today
Mhm.
talking about this. And yeah, like to take it more like into probably like steps or like more simple things that voters can take to stay informed and contribute to ensuring the integrity of elections. What steps you recommend, or simple things that we can do to help to make elections more trustable?
That's a very good question, and it's not easy. It's not easy because when we are as citizens, we want to consume information and find out what is going on in order to be able to make an informed decision going into an election. So it's a very tall order to ask citizens to say not only be informed and understand the issues and listen probably from all parties about what is it that is going on, but also making sure that the veracity of the information, making sure that the information is from a good source or it's true and so on and so forth. So it's very hard. Um, I think that I think all of us, we tend to lean on what we consider to be authoritative information. So sticking with the sources that they're more likely to be correct, not to be compromised, having a critical mind and thinking that, whenever we hear on the internet, if somebody shows up on a social media platform and says something, it's not necessarily true. If they don't back it up, they don't have the evidence in order to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, as citizens, these are the things that we can do. And beyond that, I think being good citizens when it comes to elections, register early and vote in whatever way would be its best and convenient, whether it's a mail-in ballot or on site. But do that in a way that it causes less havoc for all these people who are trying to work the elections and manage the volume and everything else that is going on.
Yeah. Um, well, we're getting to the end of the conversation, but I don't want to say bye before talking about the master program in cybersecurity work. And like maybe if you can talk a little bit about why this program is important, and if there's someone interested in the program, how it works, and yeah, like talk a little bit about this, and also how it's related with this topic for those who are interested.
Sure. Well, part of the program, the master's program in cybersecurity, it's all about getting a great education in the field of great technical education in the area of cybersecurity. And one of the parts that we are very proud of is that this program is approachable to anyone. While it is designed for those that they may have computing background, we also accept students that they don't have computing background because we provide them a very robust onboarding bridge program of certain courses that can prepare almost anyone who has the aptitude and the interest to study in cybersecurity. Um, we are an accredited and recognized Center of Academic Excellence by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security. So this is almost the gold standard of recognition in cybersecurity programs. And we do a great job in really educating students in all the major parts of cybersecurity, information security, network security, forensics, ethical hacking, and so on and so forth. So students get a really good education when it comes to our program. And if we make the connection about elections, everything in cybersecurity is about confidentiality and integrity, which they're very big issues, um, and availability. So this type of fundamental kind of approach that if you are able to make sure that election systems can be kept confidential, the integrity of the process can be assured, and the availability, being able to go and vote and do whatever you need to do, these go hand in hand with what we are covering in cybersecurity.
What job opportunities a student can have after graduating from this program?
Students have a lot of opportunity because it allows them to, depending on their interest, to do a number of very cool jobs. Well, cool, at least as far as I think about them. They can start from security analyst in operations center, and I can have our somebody who's listening think about these big rooms with big screens all around where a lot of monitoring is going on about what's going on in the network and the systems. There are other jobs that are related to digital forensics, for instance. There is another one for ethical hacking where your role is to break things in order to be able to protect them better, to see what their vulnerabilities are, to attack them in order to find out what the vulnerabilities are. So there are a lot of roles into cybersecurity that people can go to. There's another one that is the idea of policies. How do you write policies and how do you enforce policies and compliance in order to be able to, based on best practices, protect an environment? So it can vary from the very technical to the more sort of abstract when you come into policies, compliance, and regulations, etc.
That sounds very interesting. I invite people that is listening and are interested in this program to come and take a look to the Hood College page. And if it's okay for you, we can also share in the description of the episode your email, and maybe they can contact you and talk about it, because it really sounds interesting and necessary for this moment in life. So yeah, this is the end of the episode. I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add, or anything else you would like to say before saying bye.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation, and if anyone wants to reach out to me or to see for the program, the URL is hood.edu/cyber. CYBER, and it will go to the program page, and at the very bottom, all my information is there, and I would love to hear from anyone who is interested in the program.
Thank you so much for being here, and don't forget to vote, to register, and to vote, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.